and he's pulling the evil spirit out of people and he's just chucking it away and being like, be gone, devil, be gone. She's doing that, but she's adding Star Wars sound effects. Welcome back to another episode of A Fantastic Time with me, Taher Houssain. Welcome back. I hope you have been having a lovely day, a lovely week, a lovely month even. The sun is in full force. I know I have been saying this in previous episodes, but it is just looking 10-10 right now. The heat, I'm currently sweating as we speak. I will probably be a puddle by the end of this episode. So yeah, look forward to that because that's going to be amazing. But yes, you haven't come to talk about the end of the episode. You'll get to it when you get to it. What have I got for you today? Well, I've been on Instagram, like usual, just going through, and I've come across a woman. And you might be saying, there's plenty of women on Instagram of all varieties. You need to be specific. Well, it is a woman called Sarah, and Sarah, I don't know what Sarah trains in. I think in some sort of rehabilitation, in meditation, in chi work. That's the only way I can describe her profession. Just because, there's a specific word for it. I think it's called Reiki or something of that variety. I'm like, okay, amazing. And it consists of her getting a patient. I assume they're a patient or they've got some sort of issue. So I will refer to them as a patient. Placing them onto what I suspect to be an ironing board. Right on the metal bit, so their face is on that cold little metal bit where you put the iron on, and then just systematically running her hands over their bodies, just a bit like this. And she's chanting, she's saying stuff, and I'm like, okay, Sarah, I'm gonna give you some grace. I'm gonna hold my suspense of disbelief and believe what you're doing is working. And she's pulling all that bad energy out. She's flowing. I don't know what she's flowing. The chi. I believe she might be a waterbender, a bloodbender, if you will. If you've watched Avatar, then you'll know the reference. Also, did you hear that they've leaked the film? I'm not sure how I feel about that. On one part, I want to go and watch the film illegally, unfortunately, but I won't do that because I believe in being a good patron and paying for it. However, I've heard as well that the only reason that the guy released it or online or whatever was because they're not releasing it in cinemas. And I was just like, why wouldn't you? Avatar is such a big IP that, of course, everyone would go and watch it. People went to watch the Demon Slayer film. And I'm not going to lie, not the new one, but I mean the one before that, before they got into the Infinity Castle. And half that was just a recap. But back to Sarah. She's pulling that bad blood, that bad juju, and she's chucking it out. She's grabbing it and she's chucking it out. I'm not sure if you've watched There Will Be Blood. I'm not sure if you know the priest character when he's, chucking out the devil and he's pulling the evil spirit out of people and he's just chucking it away and being like, be gone, devil, be gone. She's doing that, but she's adding Star Wars sound effects. Like, it's Star Wars blaster, maybe even lightsaber sound effects. She's like, I was like, okay, this sounds very intense. She's just, and I'm like, Sarah, with all due respect, I don't think the sound effects were required. But if that's what makes you happy, I am perfectly obliged to believe that this is this is working and it is adding something to the experience. Let's just say, I know I think I've said in my previous episodes that this year, I'm all about experiences, and I want to experience new things. And this might be it. This sound effect Reiki, I think, takes me back to the Clone Wars. Maybe even, the Old Republic. That would be quite nice. That'd be very intense. That's probably £50 more for that session. But during one of her videos, she's going over the room. She's like, I'm going to need a bigger room. I'm going to have to upgrade to a bigger room. And I was just like, Sarah, with all due respect, you do not need a bigger room. And the fact that you can afford to get a bigger room, I was just like, this must be a very good profession. People must be paying out of their asses because that's the only way you're paying extra rent for a bigger room and actually getting away with it. And again, she's probably, I think she was selling a course on Instagram. You could, book her services, through Instagram, I was just like, fantastic, it's a business. I can't crap on somebody for trying to make money, because I'm like, hey, it's a tough economy. Like I said before, you need to be making your money. I'm judging the patrons. Who is going in for this metaphorical bad juju removal? I'm pretty sure burning sage in the corner, maybe drinking some green tea or some like herbal tea might do the exact same thing. Matcha, why not that? Yeah. Go to a blank street if you're in London. If you're not in London, go to any chain coffee shop and get some really badly prepared matcha, and that will cleanse you. You'll feel a bit detoxed. Or you can just take a shower. That does the exact same thing. But I digress. That is up to you. That is your options. Also, on Instagram, I've seen these people with... I'm not sure if you go to the gym, you'll know. Or maybe even if you don't go to the gym. Like, it's those big... It's not the medicine balls, but it's the big, like, bouncy balls that you can usually do, like, crunches and stuff on them. But I've seen recently there is this Spanish lady on Instagram. It's always Instagram, always. And of course, she's selling a course. She's selling an experience. Like, it looks like those home workout, videos from back in like the 90s or the early 2000s that you slot into the DVD player. And they're just like, okay, we're going to be doing the 2-step and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. But instead, she's got like these bouncy balls, and then they're doing acrobatic training. Like, when they've got like rope or like fabric hanging them from the ceiling, and they've got these bouncy balls in between their legs, and they're like, and we're gonna go, and they're just swinging back and forth, and they're doing all these aerial maneuvers. I'm not gonna lie, it's quite impressive. It's very impressive. But at the same time, I'm like, you don't claim to be an acrobat or be teaching these skills, or I know, was it silk scarf skills that you like, when you've got like the silk scarves and you're like hanging from the ceiling, this, that, and the other. Like, you don't claim to be doing all of this. And also, what is the point of this ball? I believe it might be working out your core muscles or something of that variety, but I can't be too sure because she never disclosed. Or she might have disclosed, but it was in Spanish, and unfortunately, I do not speak Spanish. That is not in my repertoire, unfortunately. But I was just like, okay, Sarah. Oh, no, it wasn't Sarah. Oh, I just said Sarah. I'm just getting them confused. Okay, Spanish lady, you tell me, or you show me, what is this going to do? And it's them just like swinging back and forth with these balls in their, in between their legs. And don't get me wrong, it seems fun. And it seems like there's a big learning curve to get to the proficiency that she's at. But also, I was just looking at it and being like, you could just go to the gym, arguably. Or not even that, just if you want to work on your core muscles, do some crunches, do some leg raises. Or, again, go to the gym. Anything of the variety. I mean, if that's your fun way of getting out of the gym, maybe not being confined into this space where it's sweaty, it's hot, and some people find it intimidating, which is like, fair enough. If that's what you want to do, that is your prerogative. I'm not going to judge you. However, at the same time, I'm going to judge you and be like, good God, you're probably paying £50 for an hour session to swing across this room with massive balls underneath your legs. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that, but hey, to each their own. But some London adventures, let me tell you what's been happening. Recently, or as of this video, the London Marathon has just concluded. If you don't know about the London Marathon, which I'd be surprised if you didn't, everybody knows about the London Marathon. It's this big marathon every single year that takes place in London. You've got to be put into like a sorting hat kind of thing. It's very much, you've got to be selected. And the best way to be selected is if you're running for a charity and you've raised a certain amount of money for said charity and you want to run for them. I think it's a brilliant thing. Everyone should do it at some point, or running a marathon might be crazy, but doing stuff for charity, everybody should be doing it. Lovely, amazing. But because of the London Marathons, the tubes have been diabolical. When I tell you, it's just packed with people. And especially with the heat wave we've been having, it's just been getting worse and worse. Like, being on the tube when it's hot, like the tube, the underground in itself, the deeper you go, the hotter it gets. That's just how it works. However, when there's an active heat wave going on, and it's already boiling down there, you can imagine the amount of perspiration that everyone is doing. No amount of deodorant, no roll-ons, no sprays are doing anything. It is just sweat galore. You better have perfume for days. I don't understand how people are wearing jackets. Like, you'll see people in three-piece suits, and fair enough, that's their job. It's for, they work in finance, they're estate agents, this, that, or the other. They have to be wearing suits. Fair enough. But the fact that you're wearing, like, heavy cotton or wool suits in this heat wave, I am baffled. I'm like, that's a crime. That's genuinely a crime. You should be allowed to just walk around in a shirt and a tie and call it a day. And some people who, I'm talking about regular civilians, are walking around in hoodies, in jumpers, in heavy jeans or whatever. I'm just like, you're insane. And they've got like 2 to 3 layers on. You can just tell. They've got a t-shirt, they've got like a woolly kind of knitted jumper, and then they've got a coat or a jacket on top. And I'm like, huh? This makes no sense. Absolutely no. And you won't see an ounce of sweat on them for some reason. Sometimes I'm a bit nosy on the train, on the tube at least. Like, of course I've got my book, or I'm like on my PSP or whatever. But I am looking around because I'm like, I get bored, especially if it's crowded. I'm like, oh, I don't mind. And I look around and it's just these guys. We're all in black. Sometimes it's the guys, sometimes it's the women, sometimes it's everybody. It's actually most people in London. People in London love their dark colours, especially if you live in places like Tottenham, like, I don't know, what was I going to say? Hackney, that's one. Edgware, or just further out, I feel like. The further out you go, people love their dark colours. I think it's just, dark colours are nice, they're easy, they're subtle, it doesn't draw too much attention, and I'm like, great, amazing. But they're just layered on top of layered, and there's a lot of black. I know I am wearing a black t-shirt, I know I am sweating, I know it is hot, but I'm indoors. When I go out later on, I'm gonna change into something more brightly coloured, or maybe something that doesn't draw the attention of sunlight and heat. Like, that would be your first thought. But no, people are going out in like full black coats, puffer coats, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, are you not boiling? Are you not just sweating to death? And I know what people are going to say. Oh, it's because if they're staying out until later on in the night, it's going to get cold. Trust me, it does get cold. It doesn't get cold enough to the point where it warrants you suffering throughout the entire day. And I'm just like, this is absolutely, it's absolutely insane. Anywhere else in England or Britain, wherever, I don't believe people are doing this. I feel like it's just a London thing. When you come here, you will see it and you will be baffled. And anytime I do see somebody in like light colours or maybe shorts or a vest, this, that, or the other, in my head, I'm like, they're probably students or they're tourists. And the occasional London, I feel like a born and bred London local. I just always see them just dressed up, long sleeve this, long sleeve that. And I think that's amazing. Hey, fair enough. If you don't want to be showing skin, you don't have to be showing skin. That's amazing. But also in this heat, it is mental, to say the least. I've gone out with just a t-shirt and I've absolutely sweated my ass off. And I'm like, and to anybody else listening across the world, you're probably thinking, if you think that's hot, come here. I swear to God, I've been to other countries when it's been hot. And don't get me wrong, I'm just like, it's hot, it's warm, it's this, it's that. British heat is different. And if you don't believe it, come over during the summer when we have our heat wave and you will feel the brunt of it. Especially when it especially when it hits at least 21 degrees. You are boiling. You are like, you're sweating from every orifice. It's not looking good. At 17 degrees, you will see people in shorts, in a vest, and saying, I'm gonna have it. Yeah, I'm going out to the pub. I'm gonna have a tinny. Tinnies are like canned alcoholic drinks. Or if you want, I know, a non-alcoholic drink, a soft drink, if you will, you'll say pop or something of that set, or something of that variety, or just call it by its name. But tinnies, and they're going out to the parks, they're going out to the beach, they're going out somewhere where nature is thriving, and they're having themselves a nice old time. And they've got, some picky bits, a bit of brie, some crackers, maybe a couple crisps, Walker's Max Ridge. I love a good Walker's Max Ridge. It's just got that. You don't realise texture matters in a crisp until you've had something like a Monster Munch or like a Max Ridge or like a McCoy's. It's just so nice. I don't know why. It's just the texture, the ridges. It just does add. It adds to the experience. And anybody who doubts that, you're lying. It does add to the experience. You're just lying to yourself. Go and get yourselves some Walker's Max Ridge. The ones I like is the Walkers where it's the black bag. I know they've got the paprika flavour, but the chicken wing flavour is just so Moorish. You just can't help yourself. When they used to do the 150 gram bags, I used to get them all the time, at least once a week. This was when I was a little bit more bloated, unfortunately. but good God, that flavour is tantalizing on the palate. I don't know what they've concocted and put into that crisp. I know it's artificial, I know it's bad for me, but god damn it, is it just wonderful. It's just mwah, amazing. So some food recommendation, get yourself some Walker's Max Ridge because it is just amazing, specifically the chicken wing flavour. Also, London Adventures, it's a little piece I do on this podcast when I have, ventured somewhere in London that I have not been to before, and this time it was Islington, Angel and Islington. I know they're like separate areas, or like they're considered separate areas, especially on the map, but people just go Angel, Islington, they usually just connect the two. And people say it's a very nice place, it's a very affluent area, nice pubs, nice shops, nice food spots, all that good stuff. And I'm not going to lie to you, I completely agree. It's beautiful, it's nice, and they've got like nice little vintage shops, nice little passages. I think I went and had some like Sri Lankan / Indian like roti there, and they had like little kebabs as well. I was like, that's nice and cute. Had a drink out there. It was nice, it was hot, we were sat out in the sun, near nature, and I was just like, this is absolutely beautiful. I feel like that's like the classic British experience, to be out somewhere in nature with a cold drink in hand, and with a bit of food lying about. It's just something about it. Of course, you can do this anywhere else in the world. It's not just relegated to the UK. But I feel like when you come to the UK, and especially when it's hot, and if you've got some British friends, they will always undoubtedly want to go out into nature and just have a good one. It's just something about it. Would I recommend going to Islington and Angel? Yes. Would I recommend having a bit of money when you go there? Also yes. Don't get me wrong, they've got some nice vintage shops. You can find some nice steals there, all that good stuff. But again, it's a nice affluent area. It's got a bit of money to it. I wouldn't say it's gentrified, because I think it's just always been like that. So whenever you do head there, do keep that in mind. But yes, definitely head there. Head to the Uniqlo there. I know there's Uniqlos all across London, but I went to the Uniqlo there. It's really nice. Also, get yourself a linen shirt. Especially in this heat, I was just like, you know what? I'm eyeing one up. I've never had one. And I was just like, considering I'm sweating through this black top that I'm wearing right now, and my back is absolutely drenched. Like, you can't see this on camera, but it is damn bad. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to be getting myself one of those. Make sure you're preparing for the heat. Right now, I am in joggers and a black t-shirt. I am not prepared for this heat. Now, time for a bit of a recommendation. Currently, I am reading The Odyssey. I know, The Odyssey. Why is he reading that? Isn't that like 1,000 years, 2,000, maybe even 3,000 years old? And you would be correct in saying that. But I am reading it because I know Christopher Nolan's film is coming out, I think, sometime this year. I think it's end of summer. I could be wrong, like correct me if I am, or it's coming around December. But I was thinking, I understand. Yeah, I know the Iliad because I've watched Troy. I know with Brad Pitt. I know it's not like completely historically accurate. It's a really good film though, and I really enjoyed it. And I will be reading the Iliad after I'm done with the Odyssey. But I was just like, let me read the Odyssey so I know roughly what is happening. Have they stayed faithful to the original story, this, that, and the other, and all these translations? So I was just like, okay, cool. Let me have a look at that. I will say, it's really cool. I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm about halfway through. I think there's about 24, 26 like chapters, or in this case they call it books, because I think it's like little short books continuing on the story. I think I'm halfway through, where Odysseus is basically, I think he's telling like a king or a bunch of people who, how are hosting him about his journey from Troy and the 10 years he's been away from home, this, that, and the other. I will say, it's incredible. It's riveting. You can tell where classic Greek mythology and stuff like, I know, God of War, this, that, and the other, where all of that sort of comes from and stems from. I'm like, while I'm reading through, I'm just like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I know that. I know this. I remember this from God of War. I've seen this in, I don't know, American Gods in this series. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, that's kind of cool that, all of this is coming from this classic story that I know the bits and pieces of. I know some of the, I don't know, the set pieces or the items in other mythology and other stories that we've, made, but I've never seen it from the original source, and I'm like, it's quite cool seeing it from that perspective. But I will say, with the translation I've got, apparently it's a very good translation, it's very reputable, and I was just like, amazing. I forgot who it was by, but again, really reputable, really good. However, I will say, in the Odyssey, for some reason, Odysseus or anybody who's mentioned to be a main character or like a kingly figure is just always pronounced to be godlike. They're like, this man is godlike. This man is again godlike. He is so godlike. He is amazing. Or if they're downtrodden, they're referred to as slave looking. This includes the actual slaves that they've got. But they're like, this person looks like a slave. This person is a wretch and looks like a slave. This person is amazing. He's a king. He is so godlike. He's just radiating energy and this, that, and the other. I'm just like, bloody hell. There's a lot of glorification, especially of Odysseus, of his son, and I think one or two other characters as well, that they're always like, oh, they're so godlike. They've got this charm. They've got this. They've got that. And I'm like, okay, amazing. And of course, in the translation, in the book, I think the first 100 pages, they sort of just give you some context about, ancient Greece, Troy, Odysseus, some, I don't know, viewpoints of the time or what they can interpret. So everything that they say while you're reading through the book vaguely makes some sort of sense to you. And during the book, there is so much eating. When I tell you there's so much eating, just because I think back then, according to the translation and the author, back then, if you're a stranger of any variety, if you're a traveller and you've gone to somebody's place, somebody's palace, somebody's house, and you're a visitor essentially, the host is essentially expected to show you hospitality, to show you gifts, and give you and shower you and make sure you are well fed, bathed, this, that, and the other, and then send you on your way, because I think Zeus or something is meant to take care of, strangers and travellers and this, that, and the other. But when I tell you, these lot are just killing animals and just feasting. They are feasting to their heart's content. Odysseus, on his way back home, Ithaca, it's a 10-year detour because, I don't know, he pisses off the gods, his crew pisses off the gods, he's stuck on an island with Calypso, not the one from Pirates of the Caribbean, like the actual mythology of Calypso, he's stuck on the island with her, and, he's like shagging her for I don't know, 8 of those years, but he's crying about it, he's like, I don't enjoy this anymore. I'm like, fair enough, mate, you probably don't. But nothing had stopped you from trying to sail away. I know she's like a powerful goddess, this, what, and the other. But Athena, throughout this entire story, favors you. Athena loves this guy. Poseidon doesn't like him too much because he, stabbed the Cyclops in the eye, which he had every right to do, in my opinion. Even with, the context, this, that, and the other. And Odysseus isn't the most, noble character. He's a schemer. By today's standards. I think he's a very roguelike, an anti-hero, if you will. And, he does stab Poseidon's Cyclops in the eye, within reason, because the Cyclops did eat, 6 people, where they went over and they were like, hey, show us some hospitality, and the Cyclops was like, well, I'm gonna eat you, and he eats, 6 of them. I was just like, bloody hell. And then Odysseus can't, keep his mouth shut, and he's just yelling at this Cyclops, as they're sailing away, as they're making their great escape with all of his sheep, which he does end up eating. But he's making his great escape, across the sea. And he's like, fuck you, I got away, let them know that Odysseus blinded you. And then this Cyclops prays to Poseidon, and Poseidon's like, well, I'm not gonna have this. That's my son. And then washes them and beaches them ashore, basically putting a detriment to their journey. And I was just like, it was giving, watching Infinity War, and then you just watch Chris Pratt, Star-Lord, just shouting at Thanos and punching him and breaking that mind control that Mantis has put him under. And I'm like, if you just shut your mouth, this whole situation could have been avoided. Instead of spending 10 years trying to get home, I think it's 10, it might have been 20 for all I know. I think it is 20, just because Odysseus' son doesn't know who his father is, because I think he left when he was still a baby. So I think it's about 20 years. This 20-year journey could have been a 10-year journey. It could have even been maybe a 5-year journey. It could have been anything else if you had just shut up and not pissed off Poseidon. And it's taken Athena about 20 years, or I think about 20 years or 15 years, whatever it is, to convince Zeus to be like, hey, Odysseus is suffering on this island, all of his men kind of dead, and let's get him back home to his wife. Yeah. But all in all, I know I've complained. I know I've like thrown some digs at it. I think it's a really good story. Yeah, it's a classic. It's one of the things that have inspired so many other stories, other mythologies, and other like worlds and lore and this, that, and the other. So would I recommend reading the Odyssey? Yeah. If you're into history, if you're into ancient Greece, I know archaeology, this, that, and the other, or if you're a fan of just where all of this like, God of War, all of this Greek mythology in our entertainment nowadays comes from, definitely have a read of the Odyssey. It's worth a read in my opinion. Also, another recommendation I have is The Boys Season 5, or the final season, if you will. Currently, it is on episode 3 or 4 as I'm recording this. I've only watched the first 2 episodes. I still need to catch up. But from the first 2 episodes, I'm really enjoying it. Like, it's not too bad. I think people are giving it a lot of slack and a lot of criticism, and as they should, compared to maybe the first season or the second season, where it is really strong. And I think it is sort of, with the first 2 seasons, it's a little bit closer to the original source material. Not saying the original source material is that good, but it did spawn the series. So you've got to give it credit where credit is due. I think season 5 is trying to tie up all of the loose ends that it's, that is set up, especially with this new thing that they've brought up with V1 and how they're going to sort this out, how they're going to, how they're trying to basically spread this virus, which isn't V1. V1 is the original serum that gives everyone superpowers, but it's like a really potent version. But it's the only thing that can basically resist the virus that Butcher and the rest of the boys have cooked up to basically spread across the globe and kill Soups, or at least want to kill Homelander. And Homelander, from my knowledge, is basically just trying to get a hold and take V1 and basically become invincible, become immortal. So I'm not sure what's going to happen in the show. Is it as good as maybe the first 2 seasons? I don't think so. Not so far, at least, from what I've watched. But is it better than season 3 and 4? I think it's definitely better than season 4. Currently, season 5, if this is my early, review of it, I would put it probably, in 3rd place. Yeah. So I think for me, it goes season 1, season 2, season 5, season 3, and then season 4. Season 4 was cool. I didn't enjoy it as much, but yeah, I think it's a good watch. I think it's just going all over the place, especially with this season with Butcher's powers and that cancer. I want to see how they're going to resolve that. I think Butcher is probably going to kill himself at the very end to, give hope and inspiration to Ryan, this, that, and the other. I do know that they've taken some inspiration from Invincible, a bit of spoilers here, where Homelander does beat up Ryan and basically pulls an Omni-Man, essentially, and, just leaves him battered and bruised. And I was just like, fair enough, they're pulling from pop culture, but part of me is like, I think you're pulling too much from modern stuff, especially with the whole AI stuff, and how they handle the AI stuff, especially with that first episode, is, in this series, I think it's basically how it would be handled in real life. But part of me is like, it's so time-based. You get what I mean? You can tell that this is a product of the last few years, especially with the AI business and the pop culture references and this, that, and the other. It's a very modern thing, and especially if you watch it, I think in 10 years maybe it might be a bit dated. But yeah, that just we have to wait for that. We don't know if that's the case. But currently, I am enjoying it. So yeah, I might do a little catch up of it like I did with some of the other series, like some of my other anime, in my later episodes. But yeah, that's something to look forward to as well on my thoughts. But yes, I think I will end the episode there. I think this episode is a bit shorter than my previous ones. I do apologize for that. But please do follow me on my TikTok, my Instagram. There should be some stuff on there for you shortly. Also, give a subscribe, give a little subscribe, favorite, all that good stuff if you can. I would really appreciate it. Show it to everybody. Why not? I love it if you show it to everybody. I want it to be shown to everybody, please. Yeah. But anyways, thank you for watching another episode of A Fantastic Time with me, Taher Houssain.